Hello and welcome everyone. Oh gosh, it's right at the beginning. I'm losing my voice. Hopefully you can see me live. I see a few of you are still already online, not still online. And I'm so glad that you have pre-submitted some of the questions. That's great. That's going to give me some fodder to get started. That's been a bit of an issue in the past. Everybody's kind of shy to ask the first question. So I'm glad you broke the ice already. I'm gonna just fiddle with something over here. And hey, whoever is live, just give me a shout out. If you're watching a recording, I know people sometimes it's not very clear. If you see a live chat window, then you're watching it live. If you don't see that and all you see is comments, then you're watching a replay. But feel free to leave a comment too. Yeah, let me see. How do I go? Watch page. Perfect. Okay, let's do this. So actually, before we start, I had something really cool to show you. So if you're one of my followers, you probably know that enrollment for my Learn Power BI program is open, and one of my students had been very insistent that, hey, Avi, we should do a map, just see what it looks like. And we finally got around to do it, and it still doesn't have students from the new class, and there's going to be a dot somewhere here. I'm not exactly sure where Melbourne is, but yeah, so doesn't have the new class, but yeah, it was quite a sight for me. It's pretty cool. Okay. So let's go to your questions here. Brand new day, my friend. Brand new day. How we doing? October 6th. Q&A. Oh boy, last time we had 2 pages of questions. Gene Phillips says, hi. Can you hear me okay? That's always a joy. Believe me, I pretty much hit every tech issue there is. I have done presentations where they couldn't hear me. I've done presentations where they couldn't see my screen and all they could do was hear. And of course, in a lot of those cases, I motored on with no idea that things are not working. Hopefully, today is not one of those days. Nick is watching live from New Jersey. Hello, Nick. Okay, Manohar is having some audio issues, but yeah, I think everybody else can hear me, so that's good. Okay, I'm going to pick the first question up top, and we'll see how that goes. And then maybe I'll switch back and forth. I'll go do one pre-submitted and one live. So if you ask now. So Eamonn is one of the students in our class, and I love this guy because he comes prepared, and he has a lot of good questions. Oh, okay. I should read it before I copy paste it. He said it's a hockey game, but he does have something else there. Now I've seen. Okay, he's getting to it. It's gonna be a good one. You probably can see it, but this is for the recording. I wonder if it cuts off your comments at a specific length, like Twitter. Maybe it does. Son is a hockey game. That's great. Now I don't remember. Hockey, I just think Canada. Maybe he's in Canada. Okay, I have 2 questions. Is there a way to pull data into PDF? I love that. How can I do that? Okay, let's tackle the first one. And for this, I'll point you to my dear friend in Australia, Matt Allington. Great blog. Accelerator, PDF, Power BI, I don't know. Import from PDF. Or this one. Ooh, it's a lesson. It's also a blog here. So I'll stick this here. Wrong place. Yeah, and he's so funny. He writes in his blog that, yes, there are third-party tools for this, but why would I pay anybody when I have Power BI and Power Query, and it's not perfect. That's what I remember, but depends on the structure of the PDF. So I've had students who connect to PDF, didn't have any problem, but the PDF wasn't structured correctly. And I don't know. I know that Word documents are essentially, the best of my understanding is they're essentially XML files. That's what they are. I'm not sure what the internal structure of PDF is, but yeah. So sometimes if it's not structured well, it's gonna look like crap. There's nothing you can do. I've had students have that. What's the next one? I could drill down transactional data when visualization hours seem to just get to summary level. Okay, drill down, got it. So I'm not sure if Eamonn is asking about Power BI or Excel. In Excel, let's see if I have my Excel chose to crash. Come on. Let me open up a good Power BI file. Should have done that earlier. Let's see if I can handle some other question while I'm trying to put up a file. So let's scroll down. Manohar is asking, how can we load data only incremental from MySQL table? That's a good question. I like that. So for everybody else's benefit, this is a common scenario. If you haven't run into it now, you will run into it at some point if you keep working with Power BI. And typically the challenge is with largish data set. Now, of course, large is very relative when it comes to Power BI. In Excel, 1,000,000+ rows was suddenly large, right? I mean, if it's like 1,100,000 or whatever the exact limit was, it was large because you couldn't handle it in Excel. No such limit in Power BI. You can handle hundreds of millions of rows. Usually I don't blink. I don't think about if it's hundreds of millions of rows. But if it's, I don't know, 600, 700 billion, then you need to think about other things. Then you need to and maybe think about SSAS Tabular or Azure SSAS. I haven't tried that, but it's supposed to be the same thing. And I love SSAS Tabular. And one thing that I love about that is that you can take your skills that you learned in Power BI desktop or Excel Power Pivot and take them right to SSAS Tabular. I was afraid of it for a long time, thinking that, ooh, I'm not a developer, but that's exactly why I fell in love with it once I tried it, because it's easy, straightforward. A guy like me, an Excel guy like me, could set it up in 30 minutes. Coming back to Manohar's question, so this is, I'm assuming, for kind of a large data set, and one of the challenge becomes that refresh takes too long. So I'll push back a little bit before I talk about incremental. It's like, why does it matter? I mean, so we had refresh which took hours. We would just kick it off in the night, and it'll run overnight, and it could take 8 hours for all we care, as long as it was done in the morning. So that's one way to think about it. So again, if that works for you, I would say just stay there. No need to look for any solutions. Don't fix it if it's not broken, right? So if refresh is taking too long, you think, just set it up an automatic refresh overnight and it's going to be fine. Let's say set up automated. So I'll try to leave these notes in the video later, so that way you can kind of refer back to it. To set up automatic refresh to run overnight. That's one option. So to answer your question, incremental refresh is possible through partitions. Now let's see if there is a partitions. No, I'm looking for ideas. Let's see. So partitions is available in SSAS Tabular. I know it is requested in Power BI desktop. Oddly, I expected to have more votes. So the way partitions work, let me see if I can. So the way partitions work is you can partition it by year. So you can say one partition has 2000 Oh, that's too far back. 2015, one partition to 2016, one partition to 2016, 17, and you refresh this one every day. And this one, maybe not. Maybe it's kind of refreshed and done. Uh, that's that's one way. But these are only available, so not available. I should learn to type in PBI yet. And of course, there are dozens of other ways to do partitions. You can say one partition for the current month, and the rest for past. You can even do kind of current day and past, and you can choose to refresh which one. So it's not available in Power BI. So really, the place where it is available, as I understand it, SSAS Tabular. I've used it in SSAS Tabular. I don't think it's in Excel Power Pivot either. What else could you do? Incremental data from MySQL data. Yeah, one approach could be, and this is one of those hacks, one of those cheats, but I love those, don't you? Yeah, make the tool do stuff it was never intended to do. Let me find my files. I still have to get to Eamonn's question, which I'm going to get to. Let's see if you guys are talking about something else. Sorry, fighting a cough and cold. Okay, Arik has a question. Neil has a question. Rule of security, love that. I'm going to park that here. And we'll see if I can continue with my plan of going, continue with my plan of going back and forth between pre-submitted and earlier question. Alright, so my file finally opened up. Let's see how this looks. So we have database, tables, quantities, and here you notice, so this is SSAS Tabular. You can define partitions, partition management is not enabled. Okay, calculate tables. What is going on? Partitions, let's try this one. Okay, something's going on here, but yeah, SSAS Tabular, you should be able to do that. But let's talk about it in Power BI. Now in Power BI, if you go to queries, sorry, bad cold. And let's say, let's pretend that we have two sales tables or two queries. This is current. This could be current month, current year, and this one is past. So we don't want to refresh the past. We don't care about it. It doesn't change. Although you have to be careful. I'm so proud I remember the fancy term for this. It's called late arriving fact. Don't worry if you don't get it. But essentially, sometimes data in the past can change as well. I don't know, adjustments can be applied, things like that. So be aware of that. Sometimes things get restated. In finance, that would happen. And now, of course, restatement can happen in a few different ways. A restatement can happen where you go back and change the original record, which is probably not the best way to do it. A good way to restate is where you add a new record and say, hey, this is the date for the current record, but it applies to a date in the past, something like that. But let's focus on these two tables, the sales past and sales current, and maybe we want to refresh this one, but not refresh this one. Now, the challenge is that I think you can say, You can disable load for it and disable this one as well, I guess, or disable this. But my understanding is if you append them, then it is going to refresh both of them. I should test that theory. But it's possible that you can load them as separate tables, and for this one, say including report refresh, but for this one, uncheck this box. So that means it's going to be loaded, but it's not going to be refreshed. Now, of course, this is very clumsy when it comes to the, not very clumsy, but it is clumsy when it comes to the model, because now your data table is split into two. And again, my assumption is that if you combine them, then it's not going to apply anymore. It is going to refresh the whole thing. That assumption could be wrong if that's, yeah, right? So if with that assumption, let's say that we are going to keep that as a split table. But then how do you calculate sales? Well, you're gonna hook it up to the same lookup tables, and then your measure, you're gonna have one measure which says sales is a sales past is the total of sales here, sales current is the total of sales here, and you would hide that measure. Do not show it because it's useless. Nobody's gonna use it. And then you'll define a final sales measure which will say sales past plus sales current. So again, it's a hack. It's probably the last resort I would reach to. Maybe it wouldn't even work, but that's I'll put it with a question mark. So SSAS Tabular can let you do partitions. That's a clean way to do it. That certainly does it. You can vote for that idea in Ideas Power BI at 32 votes, but yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, hopefully Power BI team is looking at that. Okay, let's go next. Let's go to Eamonn's question, and he's talking about drill down. So what I'm going to do is try to revive my Excel again. No luck. Okay, let's start again. Gosh, I asked some good questions. I can't get to them fast enough. Speed up, Avi. Hey, Afzal. Good to know your name, and good to have you on the call. Okay, where was I? So let's go here, and we're gonna go connect to our data model. So can anybody help me out and tell me how do you drill down to see the data in Power BI? I know there's a way. I think I even might have recorded it inside my course, but it's one of those things where it's hard enough. See data, is that it? Okay, that wasn't. If that works, that wasn't so hard. See data, can I select a row? Let's see. If I select that and say see data. Oh, okay. That wasn't so bad. Oh wait, but it's showing me all the, it's not really filtering on this. Yeah, how can I see the underlying data? See records? Help me out, guys. There is a way I know to kind of see the underlying records. So I'll tell you what I'm talking about. So if you have an Excel pivot table and I say budget by something, by month, let's say, I can double click on it and I see the underlying data. Cool. Works great. Love it. You know, I've used it quite a bit in Excel. I know a lot of people do it. And I believe there's a way to do it in Power BI. I believe it's to see records. But it's not lighting up. Data actions. Try the three dots to the right of the pane. No, I don't want to. Oh, see. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's still. It's grayed out. Oh, is it? Yeah, I'm not. So all I see is see data. I think I need see records. I need this guy. Yes, so it's grayed out due to some reason, and I've butted my head against this wall and I figured it out, but uh, I don't know what it is. Okay, so we'll bark that one. So Eamonn's question. So this should work. This should absolutely work in Excel or Power BI. The only catch is where you're housing your measures. Sorry. And we talked about this on the call, on the student call yesterday, is if you keep your measure, basically the measure, where your measure is housed, that's what's going to impact the drill down or drill through. So if you keep your measures in a different table, some people like to organize the measures in a separate table, it breaks that drill down, breaks that double click. But I don't believe that is the problem for you. And what you're saying really, it's bizarre. So maybe in the next student call, you can show me what's going on, and maybe we can try to figure it out. So I don't know how to mark. Ooh, I know. Just a question mark. So I'll put, like, I didn't really answer this, I think. Okay, so let's do some of these. Woo-hoo. Got it. So we talked about this. Sorry again. Okay, let's see. When using a vertical bar graph, you will place legend information directly on the bars. Maybe not. I know we were looking at this in the call yesterday. So if we go sales by sorry. Legend. So you're saying you want to put labels, legend information. Yes. Yeah, I think there's a way. Unless somebody knows a trick. So this puts the the label, the value, and yeah, position. This one does have inside, outside, inside, and so forth. It'll be so cool if this had an option of, say, hey, you want to show the value, or do you want to show the value plus the label? And I believe it might be here. Is it? Maybe not. Oh, this is so cool, right? So the pie chart has it. You can show the value as well as the label. Something like this. And that's good. That's really good. Because if you think about it, and I'm channeling my Stephen Few here. So Stephen Few, by the way, is pretty much my Bible for visualization. If you haven't read him, I would highly recommend. Where am I? So we're going to Stephen Few. Oops. And the book that I would recommend, he has newer books, but I like his older book, Information Dashboard Design. Well, to be candid, I haven't read the new book, but Information Dashboard Design is gold. So channeling my Stephen Few, what he talks about is that when you put the label here, your eyes and your brain are constantly bouncing back and forth. And of course, this I'll change month. A pie chart should never have that many labels. Let's do something simple. What about territory? So your eye is constantly bouncing back and forth, right? It's bouncing back and forth, and yeah, you're fast. We're not that slow, but it's still work. And what that means is that you might miss some information there because you're doing that work. So putting it right there, like, yeah, this is Canada, this is US. It's good. It's a good idea. So I would love to see. Last time Microsoft Power BI had joined in, I'm not sure who on the team, for a little bit. So I'm not sure if they're watching right now. But hey, if you are, or if you guys the replay, or if somebody can submit this in ideas, I think why shouldn't, just like pie chart has this label style, give me a label style for this one as well. That would be so cool. Why discriminate? So sorry, I couldn't help you for this, but that's the best I have. So I'm not sure. I kind of answered it, I guess. Yeah, give you the best answer. I'll count it as a check. Let's see what you guys talk about. So Nick is saying, looks like records function has limitations. According to Power BI support website, only the following visual types supported: bar, column map, tree map, filled map, by, and donut funnel. Okay. So we go here. Bar, column map. Not working for me still. What? I'm supposed to see records. See records. Let me do it. Okay, maybe pilot error. But you know, yeah, it's one of those things. So yeah. Yes, so Nick has a good question. So do the months represent only 1 year? Yeah, that's right. So so let's talk about that really quick. So yes, you're right. If you put month, all the months get together. I'll get rid of this guy. So here, if I put in months, it's from all years. And of course, Power BI does this annoying thing. I don't want to be a complainer, but it sorts it by sales. I'm like, come on, this is anything from the calendar table. Let me tell you which is a calendar table. I think it knows which one is a calendar table. It does. And don't sort it by sales, please. And then you sort it by month, and it sorts it descending, of course. So it takes like a few mouse clicks to get that sorted out. So this is all years. So now, of course, you have two options. One is you can put the year as a filter. I had a filter here. And then let people select. Or you can do this. You can, if you want to be just very steer clear of that, like, you know what, I don't want to risk showing multiple years because that's misleading, then you can, in your rich calendar table, my friend, you can put month here. And that way, if somebody clears it, they see this. And now they're seeing month here. And if you want to grab the ultimate calendar table, it's right there on my channel, YouTube PowerBIPro. And the easiest way to find it is look for the playlists. And they have, the second one actually has the download, which you can just copy and paste. So this free download. There's actually another video in this series. I haven't added it to the playlist. So this one has a free download. You can go grab that, and you would get my calendar table. It's super cool. And the third video is actually my favorite, because that talks about one of my favorite tricks in Power BI, which is offsets. Love it. Okay. Oh gosh, Nick, you're breaking my heart. So Nick is saying you can't see records when it has a calculated measures, but measures is all I do. Oh, okay. Let's try it without a measure. Really dying here. No. Oh gosh, let's see. Oh boy. So yeah. Did that work? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm still doing something wrong. But yeah, it's a no-go for me. If it doesn't work from measures, it's a no. But yeah, thanks for digging that out. Okay, Nick, I'll answer your question super quick. So you're saying you're pulling in data from SQL, and you're saying it doesn't recognize some columns like month, name, quarter, year. I'm not sure what you mean it doesn't recognize. Like it doesn't get the data type right, which is odd because SQL is a typed source. That means Power BI knows what the data type is of the column it's getting, so it should set it to that data type. Unlike, like, let's say a CSV file, which is not typed, it doesn't know this column is text or what. Then it tries to automatically determine, and sometimes it gets it wrong. So you're saying it doesn't recognize. So yeah, so it should be there. It should get it. It should be the right data type, whatever data type you set it in SQL. And yeah, you should be able to use it. So maybe if you can tell me exactly what's going on, maybe you're having, it doesn't sort correctly. That's a setting you need to do in your modeling side. You need to go to your calendar table and say sort by column. So hopefully that'll help you out. So at this point, clearly I've given up trying to note down questions. Okay, Scott Ferguson. Hey, he's another student in my class. Thank you. Glad to have you here. Scott had an idea, and that's what I love about the class. Certainly, I've done a lot more Q&A with them, but maybe with this group as well. You guys are slightly new to me. I don't know you as well, but more minds are better than one, and we often come up with really cool solutions which I would never think of, but together. So Scott's idea was you can try to overlay the title using something dynamic. Obviously not for the faint-hearted. Another thing that I would say is a lot of people talk to me. It's like, Avi, can it right align the headers? Right align? Yes, right align the headers. Can it do that? Another question I got, can it show if I have 50 to 100 columns with about 5,000 rows of data, can it show that? And I'm like, maybe it can, maybe it can't, but I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to make it into an Excel, and you don't have to choose. You don't have to choose the visualization tool. If what you're trying to do is easy in Excel, just go with it. Easy is good, my friend. Why swim upstream? Power BI is great for a lot of fancy visualizations and things like that, but Excel is great at a lot of other things. And once you have done the heavy lifting in Power BI, once you have built the model inside Power BI, published it to PowerBI.com, let it be the single source of truth, so there's no confusion, there's no copies flying around of data, and then you just say analyze in Excel, and you get a pivot table connected back to your model, and you can do all of that stuff. You can show 50 rows, and you can have the pivot table. I think okay, I should be a little nice, but I think the silliest ideas on PowerBI.com, ideas.powerbi.com, where's that site, is a pivot table. Oh gosh, I find it hilarious. It's saying, give me a pivot table, and it's got quite a lot of votes. I can't find it now, but completed, yeah. So there's one which is saying, give me a pivot table inside Power BI. I'm like, why? There's a pivot table in Excel. I doubt Power BI team, why would they even try to copy it or do better than that? So just use that. So if you do run into scenarios like, I got to do this label and legend, it's very specific, Excel is a great tool. And if you take the pain away, if you model, you do the heavy work there, then all you're doing is visualization there. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Okay, got it. So I think see records, it lit up. It didn't actually work for me, maybe. Oh, is that it? Oh, cool. So yeah, it finally came back, I think. Yeah, it's showing me the underlying records. I'm not sure. Did I just double click on that? Or maybe it took that long. I'm not sure what happened, but it finally worked. Let's try it again. See record. So we got it working, but yeah, anything that doesn't work with measures. Oh, you know what? I didn't realize I can pop out the chat window, make it bigger. Pop it out. There we go. Should I leave it here? Role of security. Nick, thank you. Role of security. Let's talk about that. I had that written down here. Let's see. Neil. Sorry if I messed up your name. So Neil is asking, best practice for role-level security, especially if it's across workspaces with same data set. This is possibly different perspective on data. Oh boy, oh boy. Across workspaces. I'm not really sure about this one. So usually if you do role-level security, the role-level security becomes the final cop. Role-level security decides who has access, who does not. So when I do role-level security, then I would not do separate workspaces. So I'm kind of curious why you're doing it. I can imagine at a stretch a few reasons why, but I would just like to hear from you. So I normally wouldn't do it. I would just, put it in one spot and share it with whoever I need to share it with. And then the role-level security decides who has access, who does not. And just kind of to get everybody else caught up, role-level security, what that does is, so you can go in here. So normally when you share a dashboard with somebody, you give them the keys to the kingdom. They can look at the report, and you may not realize, unless you explicitly turn it off, but PowerBI.com has a natural language Q&A as well. So on a dashboard, they can dig into your data a fair bit, and of course they can, if they go to a report, they can export data, I think, right, on the web. I'm pretty sure they can. Yeah, so so you give them the keys to the kingdom, but there are some cases where you want to control. You have a report for your sales organization, and salespeople are very touchy about this. Like, so the America folks are only going to see America's data. Somebody who's in EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Asia, is only going to see EMEA data, and Asia Pacific, and so forth. So what you do is you go to modeling and you create roles, and you define typically, like, let's say territory, and you would say country equals. So there are a few ways to do it, something like that. And you would create it, and now that role is there, you can give it a better name, of course. Rename. So US and EMEA and more. And then once you publish it on PowerBI.com, you can add people to these roles. That's one way to do it. That's typically not what I prefer, because that makes it manual. That means you're kind of adding people, removing them in the role. So I prefer to do it dynamically, which is I pull in a table here which says something like employee ID, comma, country. So the country they have access to. And an employee can possibly have access to multiple countries, so this is going to be a bridge table. So this is going to have a bidirectional filter here. Sorry if I'm overwhelming you, but the idea is that then it becomes dynamic. Then you say, whichever employee has United States listed in the country gets US. If they don't, then they don't get US. Simple as that. And this table can often be sourced in from like an HR system, like, hey, who's in which group, something like that. So that's the way I prefer to set it up. But either way, role-level security becomes the final cop. Doesn't matter who you share the dashboard with. You can share it with the world. But when they come in, it'll check their access, and it will see, oh, you only have access to this, and I'm only going to see you this. Now, the last time I checked this, I saw a little bit of a problem, because Power BI is pretty aggressive on caching. So this is what we noticed, and this was probably 6 months ago, that the tiles were cached. So you would see maybe worldwide data or some other data just for an instant, and then it would show your data set. So that was a little weird, but overall it works. So let me go back and see if Neil, came back with something more about the role of security. Nick. Why am I tripping over your name? Neil, Nick? Oh, I wrote down Neil. Did I write it wrong? Who asked the role of security? It was Nick. Oh, okay. That's just me then. Let's see. Arik, the answer. Let's see if I'm gonna just talk about this. Let's talk about so can I import data model and measures to new Excel workbook? So I assume you're talking about importing a Power BI model to an Excel workbook, and I don't think that's possible. Yeah. So sometimes you can hack things in, like Power BI desktop. There's no official way to upload it to PastSSAS Tabular, but you can kind of do that. But it depends on kind of the version number of the model, and Power BI desktop usually always runs ahead of Excel. So I don't think that would work. Oh, so Nick came back from our last example. What would the DAX look like when you use an employee ID like you demonstrated? That's a good one. I wanna record a video on that someday. I have such a long list. If I've showed you my ideas blog, it's like ever growing. I should take a month off and just do videos. What would the DAX look like? So the DAX would look like. What would it look like? Let's do something funky here. So I'm going to go to Sales Bridge and pretend that it's our employee table. Territory ID, country ID. Let's see what our territory looks like. Territory key. Okay, so Sales Region Bridge is okay. And go away, my friend. So you can, you'll connect these two. You'll make it. Oh, actually, I think it's going to be really simple. Both many to one. So this is filtering. So yeah. Oh boy, this is cool, I think. All right, my friends, meet the username function. You probably have not met it before. Who am I? Oh, did that work? So who am I? Username. There's also a user principal name. You can try both. I don't remember what's the difference. There's some difference. One of them works better in cloud versus the other, and so forth. So test this both on desktops as well as the cloud. See what it returns in the cloud. It might be slightly different because the cloud authentication is different. So a lot of times people run a measure and they click on it and like, it's not working. And usually it's the stupid, not stupid. I should use better language on this on this show. I apologize for that. It's the not very smart automatic visualization. So it selects a visual for you. I wish it did table. You know what's wrong with table? So you notice it's saying, well, yeah, my login is admin, so I don't have a domain or anything set up on my machine. But if I was within Microsoft, I would probably see Redmond / oh gosh, I've forgotten my alias. I don't know what it was. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Alias was your life. Everybody knew your alias. Redmond / Avi Singh. So you would see that, and then you can kind of truncate that. You can do that in the measure. So you can say, oh gosh, I'm not gonna be able to figure it out right now, but you know, kind of split it based on slash and figure it out this part, and typically it's an email. So typically, you know, in like Microsoft, it would say, I'll be saying at Microsoft.com, best I remember. And then all you have to do is just go in here in manage roles, create one, and I'm not sure, I think, and then just say that the employee ID equals to who am I. There we go. I think, yeah. So try that. The key is getting that table in. So essentially, what's happening is the role of the security comes in and says, hey, I'm only gonna give you rows where your name, and that it's picking up from who am I, that's from how you logged in, your name matches this, or your ID matches this. So it filters this down, employee access down to just that set, and then that filter, since this is a bidirectional filter, it flows up here, and then it flows down to all the connected data tables. So obviously you want to have a proper kind of a, you know, star schema, data lookup table thing going on. That's a good practice anyway. Okay. I think I have an appointment sometime today. I do get excited about these things. Okay, not very soon. Okay, let's see. That's good. Anything else, my friends? Manohar has a good question. Is there any way to schedule refresh of Power BI desktop? So this is, if you don't care or cannot go to PowerBI.com, then how do you refresh a Power BI desktop file? And the way to do that is Power Update. So just look for that. And I'm not affiliated with them in any way, although they did. They got inspired by my my signature. So I sign off as Power On. So they took that name, which I think is an honor. You know, yeah, imitation is the best form of flattery. So they took that name. So the name of the company is Power On BI, and Power Update is a product, and that lets you schedule refresh for Power BI desktop reports. And if you are running into a lot of trouble with refreshing in the cloud, so Power BI desktop, once you upload the model there, you can run a refresh there. It has scheduled refresh, and you have to set up the gateway and all that stuff for it, and that way it can reach in. Wow, I'm so good at art. My daughter will be proud. It can reach into your on-prem data sources and refresh your model. Okay, let's say this is your model. And the way Power Update works is it refreshes it on-prem. So it refreshes it right here, and it connects with the desktop. It doesn't need a gateway or anything. Pretty much if you can open it and refresh it yourself, then the refresh works. It actually does something pretty close to that. I think it pretty much opens the desktop file and refreshes it. It works best if you have a dedicated machine which just runs it. Dedicated machine, and you can find like a cheap machine. Doesn't have to be the best. I mean, obviously it needs to be big enough to handle the refresh and like not ran out of memory. That would be bad. So 64-bit, absolutely. But apart from that, it doesn't have to be a workhorse. So just some machine off there, and you can schedule a nightly refresh. Where can I find a video with an example of link a few tables between? Where can I find a video with an example of how to link a few tables between each other? Valerie, good question. And my definition of good question is really suspect, though. I feel like I often define good questions as the ones I can answer easily. No, just kidding. I like questions. I love questions which are at my limit, so make me stretch. But I can get to that. But what I found is that I've grown less and less concerned about admitting that, I don't know. And yesterday, somebody asked about summarized columns and cross join. And so pretty much in the territory of DAX as a query language. And I admit freely, now at least, that that's my boundary. DAX is a query language. I mean, I can do it, but when I do it, I'm Googling, I'm reading up on other sources, SQL BI folks, those folks are so smart. And I can do it, but I'm certainly not in a spot to be teaching it. So they saw me in the class call kind of stumbling and falling over it. And who was it? It was Bill, I think. And he was so kind. And he said, Avi, this was so helpful, so educational. Seeing that you don't have to be perfect. It's okay to feel like you're in a dark room poking around. So with DAX. So DAX, yeah, I mean, anything before that from measures, I think I've got it down. But query language, I rely on Google. So I know my limits, and that's good, and that's fun, and I'm still learning. So Valerie, how to link a few tables. So I'm not exactly sure which stage of your journey are you in, but I'll give you a few answers. If you're just starting out, then if you go to my channel, maybe that's YouTube.PowerBIPro. Oh, you're on it. You're on it right now. So just click on my name or something. And not need a new window, otherwise you'll drop off from the live webinar. And if you go to playlists, I should feature it. Playlists. There we go. Yeah, playlist Power BI tutorials for beginners, and that takes you step by step and tells you about relationships, everything. I don't know if I cover. So relationships is a good topic. So if you're really learning, I would ask you to focus on the core concepts, and the core concepts I would like you to focus on. And again, I know it's overwhelming if you are indeed starting. The first part is the clean shape transform. That's a query editor. That's a world in its own. And in fact, these two don't really see each other. They throw things over the wall. So the query editor throws things over the wall to the model, and that's it pretty much. So you can do a lot of things here which are so cool. You can have tables which you do not load. You can have interim results which you then delete, things like that, and you get the final shape here. That's one aspect. Another aspect is relationships, which you're focusing on, which you're asking about. That is great. So here I want you to understand that bidirectional relationship, it shouldn't be your default. It should be one directional. You should think about in terms of data tables, lookup tables. I want you to understand what does dotted relationships mean, and if you have like a 50 dotted lines, you're probably doing something wrong. I would want you to understand that usually it's a best practice. I would say it's always a best practice to turn off auto detect relationships, because that's just silly, because building a model is such a it's like creating art, and it's a thing of beauty. It's like my tempo. I want my model to look beautiful. I want to know my model. I don't want some default in there. So uncheck this auto detect. It's just silly. It usually doesn't help. And what else? And then, so understand that bidirectional shouldn't be a default, but also understand that when you need bidirectional. So things like that. And where can you learn all that? So this is a good tutorial. It covers kind of a lot of ground. And the name is Zero to Dashboard. So it's just trying to show you the whole breadth of Power BI. It does have some modules on relationships as well. Another one that is really good. So if you're past that stage, so sorry if you're not a beginner and you're asking about it, you're like, Avi, I know all that stuff. If you do know all that stuff, then I think the next best resource I can point you to is if you go to my playlist, go to this one, the Best of Microsoft Power BI channel. And maybe I'll stick that link in there. Would it work? Maybe it'll work. Where did my pop chat thing go? There we go. Wow, that's the first time I've said something here. And that one I did a modeling best practices that talks a little more about the concepts that I was mentioning here. And hey, full disclosure, I teach a course, Power BI, and the Zero to Dashboard is just the first module of that course. So I mean, I think it's really good. People have benefited a lot out of it. I've seen some of the comments here, but it's a bit of a teaser. So I'm encouraging you to join my Learn Power BI program. It is open right now. If you just go to learnpowerbi.com/enroll, maybe I'll stick that link in there too. Where's and I'll come back to your question, promise. I'll get this guy. Or is the chat window? Sorry, I think I've ended up with way too many windows now. Okay, good. So let's see what else you guys are asking about. So Gene Phillips has a question, I think. Woo! Are we on to page 2, my friends? This is awesome. This is great. Page 2, look at that. September 21 had 2 pages, and so for here, page 2. What's going on? Gene is asking raw data versus summarized data. Oh gosh, good question. Yeah, so raw data versus summarized data, I would go with raw data whenever I can. In fact, I would push quite a bit for raw data. So if somebody's giving me summarized data, I would push back as much as is appropriate to say that, hey, you know, this doesn't work for me. So what we were talking about, my friends, is something like this. So if you go in here, if you look at the budget table, let's talk about the grain of the data. So grain is just kind of how granular the data is. Think about like grains of sand, right? So the grain of the budget data is that this is at a monthly level. You can see that here. And it's at a monthly level. Versus the sales data, which I totally hacked, is at a daily level. Now, what if the sales data, you were getting it summarized? You were getting it at a monthly level as well. Well, you can do a lot of reporting out of it. A lot of reporting. You do a lot of sales versus budget comparison month by month, and maybe that's 90% of the reports you do. But the 10% of the time that you need a little more detail, and I'll just give you one example. What if somebody looked at that and asked the question, you know what? We used to run a promotion on Fridays, and we stopped doing that. Is that what is affecting the sales? Now you're stuck. Now you're stuck. You have nowhere to go because your data is a monthly level. If your data was at a daily level, you could still do the same reports. You can aggregate them by month. You do that by calendar table, right? So all of those reports are still there, but now when somebody asks you a question that, hey, I wonder what's going on, on Fridays, you can do something like this. Okay, sales by month. I don't want by month, and I want it by 2016, and I can do it by weekday. Oops, no, wrong one. Weekday, and I can say, what is sales prior year? Here it is. Okay, well, this is AdventureWorks for you. They've been hitting it out of the park, but you get the idea. You could kind of compare that, and not just that. I mean, once you have it, you can slice and dice it by kind of product. So you can say, okay, well, yes, but the promotion was only in the bikes category. So let's focus just on that. And it just shows bikes. Or you can look at clothing. So all of that is possible for you. Well, this is glorious AdventureWorks data. If you have the raw data, so the risk with summarized data is that you're going to hit a wall at some point. I believe you will. Because that's the nature of this that I've seen. Which is, it's like peeling an onion. And that's typically how I like to work with my clients. I walk them on a journey. If you feed them too much too soon, it doesn't stick. So, I peel the onion, start high level, and then I keep driving them towards more actionable metrics. So you're going to hit that eventually. So whenever you can, go for the raw data. Good point. How to calculate a going average based on n days. That's good. That's really good. So let's do what was I going to do? And this is let me set it up. Okay, sales bash. Let's see if we can rename this table back. All right, and let's do showed by calendar, and we're gonna do sales. Let's do a graph. So let's do measure sales past 30 days. Calculate sales, and I'm pretty sure it's one of the time intelligence functions. Maybe dates in period. That gives you a span. So the first parameter is always the date table. That's a given for these. What is the start date? Let's pick the date that we're on. So I'm just going to use the max function for that. And then got it. Number of intervals minus 30, let's say. And day. I'm glad. I wasn't sure the last part would. So start at the current date and give me 30 days back. But this would give you a total, and we'll do an average really quick. And I like building things in steps. So here, if you do sales, what do I call it? Rolling. Oh, I already have it. Oh, sorry, it's already there in the model. Whatever I called it. I lost it now. I probably did it the same way. Oh yeah, so okay, got it. So yeah, I just divided by 30. Although sometimes I'm a little particular about building things in blocks. So sometimes I would define this as one measure and just say rolling 30 days sum or something like that, and then do another measure which will say, take the sum measure divided by 30. But that's it. So try that, and I'll stick that in there. Hopefully that's on the lines of what you were asking for. So yeah, time intelligence is certainly really cool. That's one of the strengths of Power BI. It's I've heard that if you look up the DAX functions by category, time intelligence functions has the most number of functions. Now, although that doesn't mean much, because truth be told, I think I use like 3 or 4 of them 95% of the time, because a lot of them are just shortcuts. So there are so many shortcuts for date add. Like same period last year, you can do the same thing with date add. So it's kind of like a shortcut. Okay, hey Scott. let me scroll back to your question. Okay, have you built a dynamic measure? Let me try that. So let's go here. Have you built out dynamic measures for growth by organic? De novo? Novo? I'm not sure what that means. New acquisition or versus. Physician joining this year would be de novo growth. Ah, yeah. Woo! That's a good one. What do you think, guys? Is 10:08? I'm not getting a stream of questions, am I? Let's do this. One for Scott. Maybe we'll make it the last one. This is good. This is good. Let me see how best I can do this. So I'll add this rolling average. Rolling average, did that work? Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Hey, rolling average does have this symptom of it shows you data in the future as well. The best way to get rid of that is to follow my offsets video. So if you go, where's my offsets video? And that's in the, it's going to be in the calendar playlist. In fact, you know what? I'll try to change it right now, maybe. Yeah, so the offsets hack right there. This guy. That talks about how to not show future dates. That's the best way. I mean, you can do it in DAX, but I think that's I like the offset approach. I think it's a lot more elegant. Real sorry. I'll get a swig of water here. Maybe I'll. All right. All right, folks. So hey, if you like this, you just so you know that for our class, at least the current schedule is we meet weekly. And I'm not really sure I'm going to continue that forever. I've thought about making it once in 2 weeks for future classes. We'll see. But right now we meet weekly, and of course those calls are different. Students can just talk to me. In fact, they can even share their screen, and I can even grab control, keyboard and mouse control if you need to. So it's a lot more interactive. But we're trying to help Scott here with this one. So let's do it with customers. Boy, you know, so yeah, I'm not sure. Sometimes my brain starts shutting down after an hour. I'm not sure I'm gonna take it on a live call. Let me think through. Hey, let's just do it. Worst case scenario, you will see me crash and burn, and that's okay. So let's say we have customer, and let's find customer key, customer name. Oh gosh, yeah, the perfect visual for this. No, why don't you just default to table all the time? And how do I? And let's do sales. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in customer table, and it has a column which says the first date, I think. Birth date. Let's see if this is even accurate. Oh, this is not accurate. Yeah, sorry, if I had the data, I would do it, but I'll lay it out. I'll lay out the logic. So the challenge is that I tweak this data. This looks so ancient. This has dates from 2005 to 7, but I didn't tweak all the tables. So the sales table has recent dates. It has 2017, I think, or 2016 at least, 14, 15, 16. Whereas this one, date first purchase, actually, let's just see if we can hack it really, really quick. So if I go back to edit queries and add 10 years maybe. So customer, not birth date, date first purchase, and we add, of course you can calculate it as well, but I'm in a hurry. And transform, so this is date. Oh, wait. Yeah, sorry. But I'll lay out the structure. So imagine you had the date here of the first purchase, and you can either calculate. I would do that probably in the query editor. I would do that there. And then the first measure that I would write is, well, obviously the first measure you have is already have sales. Then I'll write sales in first year, and that will be something like calculate sales where and this is how I write measures. I write them out the way I think the logic, and I'll say year of oh, you know what, let me just do it in Notepad. That's gonna be easier. So first of all, we start with sales, then we do customer sales in first year, right? And again, I write it out first as I'm thinking, and then it often doesn't work, and then I come back and fix it. Ooh, I'm trying to auto-complete it. So I'll say calculate sales, yep, and then I write out my logic, which is the year of customer date first purchase is the the calendar year. The calendar year should match this. Makes sense, right? So calendar year is filtering the sales table. Or I wonder if you can do year of sales order date. I don't like that. I don't like that because yeah, let's do calendar. And I'll park this, and maybe I'll say why I don't like that. So we'll do year, calendar, and order date. And folks, there might be a different way to do it. There might be a more elegant solution, faster solution. And yeah, I love reading kind of SQL BI for that. They're the ones who kind of dive deep into it. But usually I just write it out in my simple measure, and if it works and performs, then I don't worry about it. If performance is an issue, which usually is not an issue unless you're going beyond 100 million rows. So if it's usually a small data set is not, it's pretty okay. But it depends on what you're doing. I had one person who had 5 nested SumX, and he was saying, how do I optimize this? I'm like, yeah. Okay, so calculate this. And that's it. So logically, it sounds right. Of course, it's not going to work because it's going to complain about this filter is too complex. So what do you need to do? Well, so I believe you need to calculate it customer by customer. Let's pretend just for a second to simplify things that we're operating on a single customer. If you're operating on a single customer, then you can say, so this filter wouldn't work. So because it's too complex, and when that fails, I sometimes actually let it fail just to see it fail. And then I say, oh, if it's too complex, I go back to filter. And filter is actually filter X. It's in the same family as X functions. So I covered that in the course. I talk about how X functions are iterators and filter is the same way. So I said, filter, what do I want to filter? I actually want to filter calendar table. And by what? The calendar table should be, but here the year doesn't make sense because there are many customers. So let's say we just have one customer, then we can say max. I mean, it's one customer, so max of this guy will be 2007. So calculate sales, but filter the calendar table down so that, not order date, calendar year, so that the calendar year is the same as 2007. Now this is getting there, but still not quite there, because this only works a customer at a time. So this may be an interim measure. Customer sales first year. Oh, sometimes I do this step one. And then I'll say customer sales first year, which would be take this measure and just run it for each customer, right? So run it for each customer. So this measure, if you drop it in here, it would be accurate here, but it would not be accurate here. Can you guess what it's going to do at the grand total? It's going to find the maximum year, whatever. Let's sort by date first purchase. So it's gonna, oops. So it's gonna find the maximum year, 2008, and just return you all sales in 2008. But that's not what we want. What happened? Why did it become so small? Oh, got it. So we'll say, and now I need to go customer by customer. Are you guys still with me? Did I lose everybody? Sorry if I'm going too deep. But, okay, well, you guys are here. Good. So now I want to do the same thing customer by customer. And whenever I think, kind of customer by customer, row by row, bing, X function. And this is how I think of X functions. I write the X first, because really that's what happens first. The other part, sum, average, that happens last. So this is, I wish how I could write an X function in Power BI. So I'll start with X functions. I'm iterating. What am I iterating over? I'm going customer by customer. So okay, that's the first argument. And then what am I doing for each customer? Oh, I'm calculating this one. And okay, so I go customer by customer, and I calculate that value for each customer, that for their year, what were their sales for that. Is that going to work? That might not work. We'll see. And then what? Oh, then sum it up. So you do sum in the end. But of course, that's not exactly how you can write X functions. It writes like this. But I always find it a little weird, because the sum happens way in the end. So we find sum X. Now, why did I pause? And I wish I had a real example to work with. Because sometimes X functions can trip you up. Here's why. Because what X functions do is when they go row by row, they create a row filter context. And row filter context, the words row filter, not row filter context, row context. The words row context and filter context gave me the super heebie-jeebies when I was starting out. Every time I was like, oh my gosh, my measure isn't working. I would have to try to pretend to understand row and filter context. But I realized there's such simple concepts. It's really elementary. And people challenge me and they're like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah. And the analogy I use is riding a bicycle. If you don't know how to ride a bicycle, it's super hard for you. But once you do, it's easy. So it's not hard. So all row filter context is just knowledge of the current row. That, hey, which row am I on? And it's implicit in a calculated column, which I almost never do. If I need a calculated column, I would go back in the query editor and do it. But let's pretend you were doing it. And if you add a new column here, then you can define things like this plus this. And you can do that because there's a row context, because in a calculated column, row context is implied. It's saying, yep, I'm on this row. That's what row context is. Okay, back here. So SumX creates a row context. Now here is the challenge. Here's why I paused. When you use a measure, it's as if it's wrapped inside calculate. And normally, when you do something like this, it's silly. I was trying not to say stupid. So I see people do something like, oh my, some complicated measure is not working. So complex measure, it's not working. Let's try calculate complex measure. And let's see if that works. And if you define a measure that way, that does nothing. That's nothing. That's, don't do it. And of course I've seen people try other things like, oh, sum isn't working. Let me try SumX. Don't do that, guys. Frankly, I don't think you can learn Power BI DAX in that way. That's how I learned Excel. You can learn Excel in bits and pieces. You can pick things up on the fly. But Power BI is a slightly different animal. It really helps. It really shortens your journey by a long way to just master the fundamentals concepts first. So why I paused is, so normally if you do a measure that way, that's silly. But in here, there is a calculate around it. When you use a measure, calculate is implied. And why is that important in this case? Because there's a row context here. And one of the functions of calculate is what's called row context transition. It takes a row context, knowledge of the current row, and transitions it into a filter context. So filter context is simply a filtered set of rows. Sorry, I'm not going to have time to go into that, but that itself is a very, very simple concept. If you have ever gone in Excel and Excel table and done this, clicked on the filter icon and set caps, that's what filter context is. That's all it is, seriously. Why does it get complicated? Because there are many different ways row and filter context can be impacted, created, altered. That's why it's complex. So the combinations is complex, not the concept itself. So here, what it's going to do is going to take this row customer and make that a filter into this table. And sorry, I'm at the end of my limits here. I think, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think that's okay for this one, or maybe not. On the calendar side, on the sales side, I think it's okay. Yeah. So sometimes it backfires. Okay, cool. Bummer. Echo. I don't know. I didn't change anything on my side. Let me see what's going on. Thank you for letting me know. Sorry if I was yammering on for a long time. Huh, that's odd. Did you guys lose my volume altogether? I guess into... Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure. Alright guys, so the audio is not working. Maybe that's my cue to leave. But thanks so much for hanging out. I'm not sure when I'll do this again, but if you stay subscribed to my channel, and I believe it's important to hit the bell button. Yeah, when you subscribe, there's a bell button. Of course, is that supposed to be better? That might do something. I'm not really sure. So try that. So, all right. I'll yeah. So here's the bell button I'm talking about. This might do something. But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'm gonna pause just for a little bit to see if there are any other final thoughts and comments. I know there's a little bit of a buffer, so I'll hang on, take a swig of water. And I apologize for the audio issue. Not sure what happened there, but at least it worked okay for a while. Okay. Okay, I'm not seeing any comments. So thanks so much, folks. Signing off. And yeah, the course enrollment is open right now. So if you're interested, check out learnpowerbi.com/enroll. I would love to see you inside the course. That way we get to hang out a little more. All right, take care.